find a seat if you need one. My name is Nethery Wiley, and together with Lynn Williams, who will join me here, and on behalf of Indivisible, we want to welcome you here to the forum for the El Paso County Board of County Commissioners District 5. One word about Indivisible. We are a grassroots community advocacy organization that empowers people to connect and create positive change through education, collaboration, and action. Our vision is to save democracy, safeguard inherent human rights, and fight for social justice. And I want to thank Loving the Springs, who's working with the AV and has been incredibly helpful and meticulous about making a wonderful recording and the sound for this event, and all the people with Indivisible who are helping me, the candidates, Kimberly Gold, and of course Community Anchor Academy, who's providing us this space.
Hi, this is just like when you have a plan a party and you're thinking who's going to come. So really, thank you. Thank you for coming. And hopefully you will find the forum very informative. You know, one of the things that Kimberly and I were talking about is that we don't think we've done this before. We don't think that we've held a forum where we're really focused in on the El Paso County Commissioners race. And this is important. I mean, I think with every day I'm finding out one more thing that the county commissioners are responsible for. And so it's really important that we, think about who we want to represent us with District 5 in 2027. So, I don't know if you know this, but they have the responsibility for fiscal management. The board adopts the annual county budget, which is approximately $532.3 million for 2026. That's a lot of money that they have to make decisions about. Policy and legislation. The commissioners set high-level proficiency direction and adopt local ordinances and resolutions regarding public health, safety, and infrastructure. Land use decisions, and we're always talking about this, right? What's going on with our open spaces. The board has final authority over land use requests, zoning, and the development of the county's master plan for unincorporated areas. Executive oversight. They appoint and oversee the county administrator, who manages daily operations and diverse departments like public works, public health, human services, and economic development. Regional representation. Commissioners represent the county on various regional boards, including El Paso County Board of Health, the Pikes Peak Rural Division, Rural Transportation Authority, and the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments. So you see, this is not simply just going to work and listen to what people have to say. They they represent us and they are accountable to us. So it's important, as you were thinking about questions to ask them today, that you ask the right questions. So thank you. Kimberly, it's your turn.
Okay, can I get a mic check? Do we sound okay? Jax, may I have you do a mic check real quick?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, and Miss Vicky, would you mind doing a mic check for me?
1, 2, 3.
Wonderful. Okay, how's everybody doing this Sunday?
Good.
Good. Okay, this is the part where you can talk for now, so take advantage. Okay, so let's get into some ground rules here. Moving forward, this will be a silent forum, so no verbal applause. ASL clapping is welcome, and any other nonverbal type of communication is welcome. We will have an alternating response order, so that has been already predetermined so that we can get as equitable as possible in answering questions. And the time enforcement is 90 seconds. So we have Joan up right here in the front. Joan, would you mind giving us a wave? Joan is here, so candidates, please make sure you are looking to Joan for the time. And for former Councilmember Avila, I will be giving her a slight tap when she is getting close to time. This is going to be heavy on audience participation. So with that said, we ask that you come to the mic, speak directly into the mic when asking the question, because this will be available for streaming in the future. So although folks might be able to hear you in the audience today if you spoke from your seat, that would not be beneficial for those who will be listening afterwards. So for the sake of others in the future, please come to the mic and speak directly into the mic for sound quality. Okay, do I have any questions from the audience? No? Yes, sir.
What, is this District 4 or District 5?
This is for District 5. So Board of County Commissioners, seat number 5. And
This location is what you're talking about?
They're all, was redistricted. I used to be in District 5, and I guess it's now District 4.
So this is District 5. So what is historically called, or what is historically called Southeast Colorado Springs, is split between County Commissioner Districts 4 and 5. But this, where we are currently sitting, and for the current election, is District 5.
Confusion might be with the city council district.
This is true. It is City Council District 4. It is also Harrison School District 2. It is HD 17. And let's see, SD. Thank you. So it is naturally very confusing when trying to figure out which district you're talking about, because you could be talking about many districts, from school district to state senate. Okay, so, I don't think we've introduced our guest just yet. So in alphabetical order, if you could just give a wave when I call your name. We have Jacqueline Armendariz Unzueta, and we will be calling her Jax today, and that is her preference as well. We have former council member Yolanda Avila. We have Lauren Nelson, who was invited but was not able to attend. Christian Seals. And finally, last but not least, Ms. Vicki Tompkins. And it is important to note that Lauren Nelson is the current sitting county commissioner. So on that note, it is my understanding that the people to my left and the people to my right would like to unseat Commissioner Nelson. So if that is the goal, I would highly recommend to save all commentary for Commissioner Nelson and not for those sitting at the current table. Let's keep it civil. Let's have positive discourse and be an example for our community. So starting with 90 seconds, the first question, which is just opening remarks, goes to Jax.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacqueline Armendariz Unzueta, and you can call me Jax once again. So I'm doing this everywhere I go because I think it's this important. Please raise your hand if you are concerned about the state of our democracy. I see hands, and I want to know that I see you and that I'm with you. And that's why I became the first Democrat to file for this race in November 2024, because I'm aiming to be a leader for you that meets this unprecedented time and moment in history while protecting the interests of the working class and the most vulnerable. So I'm proud to bring about a decade of experience in public service in different modes, including years as a U.S. Senate staffer, as well as being a newspaper reporter, as well as contributing to building the Democratic Party here in El Paso County itself, whether I was a voter protection deputy or whether I served as an executive officer of the county party's committee. And so I want to make clear that you living here in CC5, your vote, especially should you choose to participate in the Democratic primary, which the deadline has passed, just FYI, is that you're deciding some key questions. And one of them that I want to put forth to you is El Paso County ready for fresh, energetic, bold, honest leadership? Or do you want to keep a dangerous status quo that can't look fascism in the eye and say abolish ICE? So I ask you, and I know Colorado voters do, they do their research. So I invite you to do the research on our campaign. It's jax4elpasocounty.com.
Thank you. Yolanda, 90 seconds.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Indivisible for putting this on, and Community Works Anchor, I know it's Community Works, for giving us this beautiful space to have this event. I am Yolanda Avila, and I am a former two-term councilwoman or District 4 at the time, and this is District 4. During my tenure, I was able to work on the exact things that the county is working on. Balancing budgets, land use, transportation, other forms of public works, roads, bridges, sidewalks, also parks and rec, economic development, small and big. And so they've been able to connect those dots. I will be able to hit the ground running with the experience that I have. And I've had a very successful experience. And I'm going to do that in my closing about that. So one thing about me, I have 5 generations here in Colorado Springs. And we started out on the west side, but when my parents retired, they decided to move to east side Colorado Springs, southeast Colorado Springs, and this is where I've been, this is where I've raised my kids, and now I have grandchildren, and it's been wonderful. So I'd like to thank all of you for being here, and I look forward to all of your questions.
Thank you. Christian, 90 seconds.
Hello, Indivisible. Thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Christian Seal, and I am your candidate for County Commissioner here in our 5th District. I want to thank Councilmember Gold and Indivisible for putting this on. It is opportunities like this that not only give our community the chance to hear from us, but give us the opportunity to really show you who we are and what we're about. My name is Christian, and I was raised in the foster care system in Phoenix, Arizona. As soon as I turned 18, I graduated from that system and I left. I came here for Colorado Springs to make a better life for myself. I got really lucky. I was set up by a saint foster mother who made sure that I knew not only what I was given, but the opportunity I had to help those around me. I decided to get into the nonprofit sector, helping candidates get elected and helping our community continue to integrate with itself and grow. I moved from there into our Young Dems, where I worked hard to rebuild the El Paso County Young Dems and build a voice for youth here in our county. When I saw that we had the opportunity to flip a commissioner district, one of 5, any of them, for the first time in 56 years, I knew our community had a very real opportunity. And this was my chance to step forward and step up and make sure that there weren't children in our community starving or not knowing where they were going to sleep at the end of the night the way I grew up. That is what inspired me to run, because I knew I had an opportunity that few kids who were raised the way I did have. So I took it, and I'm here to represent you because I believe we deserve leaders who know what it's like to grow up in the working class, who know what it's like to struggle and are ready to do something about it.
Thank you, Christian. Vicki, 90 seconds.
Awesome. My name is Vicki Tompkins, and I'm really glad to be here with you all today, and thank you so much for putting this on, because there's been very few forums for county commissioner for some odd reason. It's been really interesting. But anyway, I have a saying that a lot of my friends have heard me say before: politics without principles produces pitiful communities. We have a lot of people in politics, but they're not concerned about you. And we need to change that. So I am here running for this position because I believe I bring a unique set of strengths to the Board of County Commissioners. Most of my background has been in education. I have worked with kids in the foster care system as well. And so one of the things I want to bring is common sense, and I know people hear that all the time, but let's admit it, common sense is not common anymore. And there's just some things that are so practical in government that we're just not doing. I was speaking to a lady earlier today, and she was asking me why I was a Republican. It's because I believe in the Constitution. I believe the Constitution was put in place for us, for we the people. And so it's very important to me to make sure, because the county commissioners take an oath to the Constitution, that we do that as commissioners. And so that's why I'm running. I want to be practical ideas and solutions to the county commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have to say, you guys are doing so well with time. It's like you saw my run and show. It's incredible. We will now move into the audience question and answer segment. I do have some questions here as well that I may pop in from time to time. I do want to remind everyone to make sure that this is a silent portion, and also to have your phones on silent or do not disturb. You may occasionally hear an odd quacking sound that is coming from Joan's phone in support of accessibility for today's forum. So on that note, with our questions from the audience, please make sure you speak into the mic. And also, please refrain from yes or no questions, only using them if you have a follow-up question. And lastly, as the moderator, if there is a question that I determine that needs to be invalidated, I will politely invalidate that. So that is on me. That is not on the candidates. That is not on Indivisible. That will be on me, because we really want to make sure that we have the kind of conversation that is encourages civic discourse today. Okay? Okay, so who's up? Who's going to be our first question asker? Wow. Okay.
You want us to go up to the mic?
Yes, Mr. Sawyer, if you could come up to the mic, please. Thank you.
Okay, so my name is Wes Sawyer. I'd like to ask each of the candidates if they could respond to the general concern about if bringing in the national division into the county commissioner function is going to be productive or counterproductive.
Could you repeat the question, please?
So I'm asking each of the candidates to respond to the concern that bringing in the national divisions that we face at the national level is going to be and bringing that into the county commissioner's duties is going to be productive or counterproductive.
Okay, thank you for your question. And this question first goes to Vicki.
Well, as far as the county commissioners, we are state-run. We get our job, I guess you could say, from the state. So depending on what is put forth in the legislature is something that we would have to do here. And so I'm not sure how the national is going to affect that. We're going to have to wait and see what happens on the state level to know if it's going to be effective here. Now, if you're talking about the whole idea of Save America Act, if that's what you may be speaking toward.
No, nothing in particular, just generally.
Okay, just in general, we would have to wait for the state and see what they do, because we work in tandem, is how I see it, in tandem with the state legislature.
Okay.
Thank you. The question now goes to Jax.
I really appreciate this question because it lets me bring up what I think is important is even countering kind of what is maybe a false narrative that we are disjointed and we're not connected, because national politics is going to affect what happens locally. Your county commission will potentially be in a space to decide whether or not there are more ICE private prisons for profits in our community, right? And so I do think that it is actually productive to help voters understand that national level politics is interconnected with your local level. And in fact, for the folks who raise their hand about being concerned with the state of democracy, part of why I'm running is because they need to know that someone at the local level cares like they do at a holistic level about how we do our jobs. Because to Vicki's point, yes, we are a kind of extension of the state administration, and so I would take great issue with the fact that our current all-Republican county commission usually has animosity towards what a lot of the state is trying to do. So that in itself, I think, is another important illustration of how the county commission functions and its local political responsibility. So thank you.
Thank you. The question now goes to Yolanda.
Thank you. That's a great question. When we look at the division that's happening in our country, but this is what I love about local politics. I love being on city council because locally we are impacted daily from the moment we leave our home. We are impacted daily, and that's so important. So we need to come together, because the most important thing is to get into a relationship and find out that we have much more in common than we do differences. And we have to focus on these because we are unique here in El Paso County. Will some of the divisions seep through? They absolutely have come through with this county commission and prior county commissions with alliance to who's ever in administration or breaking free from who's ever in administration. So we have to carefully think about that, but always I appreciate following the Constitution. It's imperative that we follow the Constitution, and we get into relationship with those that disagree with us, not be disagreeable, but just disagree, and bring the other voices to the table, which haven't been those voices represented on this county commission in over 53 years.
Thank you. Christian?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Sawyer. Look, I want to be honest. The fact of the matter is, our county commissioners board is sadly already plagued by national level issues, and sometimes they're talking about things that are out of their control. All too often, our current board of commissioners releases statements that are just fundamentally them grandstanding about things the current presidential administration or the state administration have done that they either are refusing to comply with or have no real business talking about in the first place. That is not the kind of division that helps our governments move forward. It's not the kind of division I want to bring forward. But I do think there's a healthy kind of division, one where everyone's ideas are represented equally, one where we can debate not about personalities or things out of our control, but real solutions and ideas to advance our local communities, ways that we can work together to help us here at home. And sometimes, yeah, that means we're divided on the solution. I don't believe if this was our board of commissioners today, all of us have the same ideas or the same solutions, but that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity for us to be able to bring together the best aspects of all of our ideas and work together towards building a brighter future for everyone here in El Paso County. So while some division's unhealthy, and unfortunately we are already haunted by what comes from our White House, I do think there's a way that we can turn it and make sure that we are advancing policy that matters for our residents.
Thank you. We will now move on to our second question, which will be one designated here. I will read the question twice. What is the most pressing public safety issue facing the county, and how would you address it? Again, the question is, what is the most pressing public safety issue facing the county, and how would you address it? And this question goes first to Yolanda.
Thank you, Kimberly. I think right now, a very scary part of the public safety is happening to our neighbors. And a lot of people would like to say that it's not happening. But there are ICE vans going through my community, especially in the lower income areas of town, that are traveling and looking for undocumented. I have a staffer that works for me, and he was accepted to go to UC Boulder, but he chose to stay here at UCCS. And why? Because his parents are undocumented. And he is so afraid that one time he may come home and not find his parents there. So he's ready to take care of himself and his younger sister. That is truly scary and harmful, to set up incarceration camps and to, I didn't know it was deportation, no, but they're setting up incarceration camps, 2 in our city, which the county commissioners actually agreed to, while at the same time freezing childcare, while at the same time having workout equipment for the sheriffs. And so that's a very concern, and you might not think it is, it hasn't touched you, but it is touching thousands of people in our community who work hard, they're just here to make a living and have a better life for their children.
Thank you. Christian?
Public safety is one of the biggest portions of my platform. So I'd like to start by saying this. Public safety is not one issue. There are many things confronting us right now, from rising crime rates in the Southeast in particular, to our inability to get home after dark, to the lack of a hospital and ICE's raids on our community. There's a lot. And now what I tell a lot of people is, if I looked you dead in the eyes and I said, I want to spend our entire public safety budget on fighting climate change, you would call me insane. And rightfully so. We have a lot more to deal with than just that. Unfortunately, right now, all of us pay an additional 2.4% tax on everything we buy in El Paso County. And when the commissioners get that money, it is supposed to be spent on public safety. They are giving 100% of that fund to our sheriff. Now, I'm not saying the sheriff doesn't need money. What I am saying is that fighting public safety is a diverse fight. We need to be standing up to ICE. The former council member is absolutely correct. We also need to be spending that money in ways that help bring down our victim rates. We can spend that by investing in things like localized climate controlled power centers. That way, if parts of our communities lose power due to something like the Waldo Canyon fire, we aren't completely doomed across this city. We can invest in community safety shelters for when our homeless need somewhere to go and it is so freezing that their bones will kill them outside. We can invest in after-school programs that make sure our youth are being invested in and their futures are growing.
And that's time. Thank you. Jax?
Yeah, with regard to this question, I want to highlight what I think is a great framing is that when you are called to be a leader, you're facing priorities that everyone thinks important. All priorities are important. The definition of what I call community safety is wide-ranging, which you've heard my opponents talk about here. That can be everything from we must address the elephant in the room to a police force that is abusive to, frankly, when it comes to the county jurisdiction, unsafe roads that are out in the county and people are losing their lives there, right? And so how I want to tackle this question that I think is important, I'm gonna ask us to think a bit bigger because this is called upon for a leader in these moments. Think big, and then we can act locally and with our neighbors. But there is an erosion of trust that is happening in our society right now with what we see from the Trump Epstein files to corruption in various levels of government. So I do consider that a threat to our community safety when we get to a place where we feel like we can't trust our neighbors and we are suspicious of everyone approaching us. And so I would say that please know that as your next county commissioner for District 5, I'm thinking broadly about what community safety means, and our priorities are essentially being healthy and able to live and thrive in a community together. So thank you.
Thank you. Vicki?
Well, thank you for that. Whoa, hello. Can you hear me?
No.
Okay, there we go. Thank you so much for that question because community safety is so important to me. In fact, I did an entire video that you can find on Facebook about community safety, and I bring it down to very simple. Neighborhood watch. And I know people go, really? Seriously? Think about it. If you are looking after your neighbor, you're going to have less crime in your neighborhood. I'm a witness to that in my own neighborhood. We saw people walking around in our neighborhood we knew were not supposed to be there, and we could tell. And so we all just went on the back porch. And I know that sounds crazy. We all went on our back porch and just watched them. And guess what? They left our neighborhood. Turning your lights on at night. And I know that sounds so simple to some people, but it works. Now, when it comes to ICE, I'm going to disagree about not having ICE, okay? That's part of our public safety. Guys, we have gotten millions of people in our neighborhoods all over the country who are not supposed to be there. That is a crime to come into a country when you're not here legally. And I know my opinion is different from most of you, but I stand by it. I stand by public safety, I stand by our sheriff's department, and I stand by ICE. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have an audience member question ready? Okay, Mr. Longmire, please come to the mic. And if we could kindly ask you to read the question twice.
Okay. Bring it up a little bit. All right. Thank you. My name is Woody Longmire, and my question is, what are the interpersonal and technical skills that you will bring with you, because you're only going to be 1/5 of a board of 5, that will convince those other 4 to join you in your efforts? Again, what are the interpersonal and technical skills that you will bring with you, since you only make up 1/5 of a board of 5, that will help you convince them to see things your way?
Thank you, Mr. Longmire. This question goes to Christian first.
Governing as a minority in any body is a matter of being able to make compromise and being persuasive. Part of what you need to do on day one is know what you stand for, know what your beliefs are, and know how you want to govern. And then you have to respectfully go to the other commissioners. You have to negotiate, you have to talk, you have to advocate for the ideas that you're bringing forward. That is part of why when I announced my campaign, one of the first things we did was make sure we published a large platform. That way everyone knew exactly the stances we would take when we hit that Board of Commissioners. So that when I went and talked to Commissioner Geithner or our commissioner from the West, they know exactly why I am there. They know what I'm fighting for, and I can respectfully have those conversations. We can begin by not only discussing the ideas that I put forward and discussing the ways that they govern as it is, but we can then work together in order to advance policy that is agreeable. One of the things I can say is for the first time in 56 years, it is very likely we will have a board more open to our public. One that can't hide behind a partisan title. One that with a 5-0 board can't hide their deeds. And so for the first time, I believe it is the job of our next commissioner here in our 5th district to bring our community back into our government. It's time the MAGA monopoly learned who is actually in charge. And that means respectfully showing them that this community is ready to take back what is ours. And that's our Board of Commissioners.
Thank you. Vicki?
Thank you for that question. Man, I'm turned off every time. What's going on? There's nothing there. Just wiggle it. Not that way.
Oh, it keeps coming loose. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Longmire, for the good question. Like I said earlier, my background is in education, and one of the things I taught for the University of Phoenix for 9 years. On the college level, I taught critical thinking. And one of the things I have learned from my many students is a lot of people don't know how to critically think. They have been so told how to think. That's one of the things I bring to the Board of County Commissioners, that I think outside of the box. However, I'm going to keep going back to this probably with every single question. It's going to be based on the Constitution. If you haven't read it, you need to, because it's an amazing document. The Constitution is how we govern, period. If anything is outside of that Constitution, we're governing poorly. And so that's where I'm coming from, if you want to call that technical, or if you want to call that organization. My degree is in organizational management. I know how I could go into a business and tell you exactly what is going on in that business and what needs to be corrected. I don't say that proudly, I just say it's because of something I've done. And that is another thing that I bring to the county commissioners. I can just read some of the documents and tell you right now that our budget is too bloated, just by reading the budget. And I suggest you do that. It's only 305 pages. So those are the skills that I bring to the county commissioners.
Thank you. Jax?
Yes, thank you so much for the question, Woody. So I would say as part of my background, spending a decade in newspapers, one of the top skills I'll bring is communication. That is something that I love to do and I think makes us stronger. I also have board experience, nonprofit board experience. That budget management, $532 million is quite a huge chunk of change that we need to handle responsibly. Also for my US Senate experience, I was a constituent advocate. So I'm really looking forward to applying that skill in service of my constituents themselves. And of course, there's managing people. I think we heard earlier where we talked about the county administrator. Another person that the county commission really manages is the county attorney, the lawyer for the county. So that's another really important intersection with our management skills. And I think another part that I would bring to the job, which is critical, I appreciate that this points out that there's a 4-to-1 dynamic. How do you work with people who have significant disagreement? Because I do disagree with Vicki that ICE is upholding public service when they are committing extrajudicial executions of Americans, for example. Thank you.
As a reminder,
actually, they did kill Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They murdered them on video. They actually shot them to death, and it is on video.
As a reminder, this is a silent forum. This is a silent forum, and you are welcome to express agreement or dissent in a nonverbal manner. Additionally, as a reminder, please refrain from addressing or naming specific other candidates, and you may disagree, but please refrain from discussing specific candidates. Next, Yolanda.
Thank you. Woody, that's a really great question, because as a city councilor, I was in the minority. Sometimes it would be 7-2 because there's 9 council members, or 8-1. And what I'm going to say is what I bring to the table in skills, right? For 8 years, balance the budget for the city council. Not only did that, we balanced budgets for every board that we sat on, whether it be PPRTA, PPACG, the Airport Commission. It was just across the board. So bringing those skills, and I don't know if you know that there's tons of reading. There's thousands of pages for each council meeting, and I have that skill of figuring out what are priorities and what I need to hone in on. Also, I think I will stick with my values, my core values. I will not give that up. But I also will collaborate. I will collaborate, and there were a lot of 9-0 votes. I will collaborate when I do not compromise with my values, but I will not capitulate to things that have been pretty outrageous on this commission. And so I will work with them. I will work with, and being on the minority, that I guess that's going to be my jam, but, having grown up here in El Paso County. But I will work to my finest and be always professional and kind.
Thank you. Okay, so this question, it comes from Indivisible. And the question, I will read it twice. I also do want to say that if you're an audience member with a question about the second candidate, will be a good time for you to make your way to the microphone so that we can make sure we're maximizing time. Okay, reading the question twice. On unelected boards, the Board of County Commissioners appoint the people who run our public health department and library district. What specific qualities or values will you look for when making these powerful appointments? Again, the question reads, the Board of County Commissioners appoints the people who run our public health department and library district. What specific qualities or values will you look for when making these powerful appointments? The question goes to Jax first.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I think that this is one of the greatest parts of this job, is that it's not just you. You represent a community, and so you need to build community connections. So when it comes to public health, that's one of my campaign pillars. I am looking for folks, and I ascribe this as a leadership trait that I myself want to bring to the commission: empathy. Public health under the county commission has a wide umbrella, and so it would be important to point folks to that body who are empathetic to the varying range of constituents that our county public health serves. And additionally, when it comes to the library, I think one of the key things that, and I would say this applies to both appointments really, is understanding the mission of the body and being able to really refer to that as a guiding North Star of the work, especially because the library, I mean, as we saw here, these subjects are not any strangers to controversy, and it's okay to bring up difficult truths. We need to be able to talk together about them. And so when it comes to who I'm looking for in the community is someone who wants to join me in building those connections and carrying out these constituent services, which are absolutely vital: public health and those library third spaces where you don't have to pay to exist. Just about anyone can enjoy the library. So big claps for them and our public health folks. Thank you. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Big silent claps.
ASL claps, sorry.
Yolanda.
Thank you. So when I was on council, I sat for 2 years on the El Paso County Board of Health. And the El Paso County Board of Health, I have rocks in my mouth, they deal with epidemics. And when we think about when I was on there, it was during the COVID pandemic. And it was working with populations that all over the county. But if they were so desperate in southeast Colorado Springs, it just exasperated the situation. So when you think about public health working with the different pandemics and providing all the information about vaccines and making them available, nutrition, sending boxes to porches of people that could not get out of their homes, and the county did so much work on that. And so they dealt with other epidemics such as hepatitis A, and one of the big ones when I was working on there was rates of suicide. They were really high, and we had brought them down quite a bit. And after I left a couple of years later, the suicide rates went back up. But it has an awesome responsibility. So I would bring people that have knowledge of suicide rates, that have knowledge of epidemics, that have the expertise to make up that board. And I didn't talk about the library board, but I'd make sure that everybody had a voice in the library
And that's
board.
time. Thank you. Again, if you're an audience member with a question, now would be a great time for you to start making your way to the mic. And the question now goes to Christian.
Whether it's our libraries or our public health, I think there's one simple core factor that we need to take into account. We need community members serving our communities. Honest people with integrity that will serve not because they're looking for their next step forward in the politics game or because they were promised something to be a partisan hack, but we need people who will serve in those positions because it's their communities, their families that are affected. We need to find the most qualified of us from right here in our homes to serve on these boards and to serve on these commissions, because only then will we truly have honest leaders that will advance our communities. We don't need a 5-0 board continuing to parachute in people unconnected to our communities. We don't need them sending people in that are there to make partisan decisions. We need people that are affected by our communities, making these decisions because they know that at the end of the day, politics is a trade-off. We can't always get what we want. But when that decision's faced, whether you get A and sacrifice B, or whether you get B and sacrifice A, I want the person making that decision to be the same person that is going to have to live with the consequences just like the rest of us. Because that is the only way we know our communities are being served right and appropriately, and that's what we deserve.
Thank you. Vicki?
Thank you for that question. I think we have over 300 unelected boards in our community. That's a lot. So when you go to look at a person, whether it's the public health, library district, whatever that board may be, transportation, it can't be getting your buddies. It's not about your buddies. It's about those, I can't remember, someone said, they know what the position is. They know what they will have to do on that board. And it's not about their personal opinions. It's about what they can do within the realm of their job description. Remember job descriptions? Everybody has a job description, and they need to understand what that job is. I have gone to be on the library board before. So you have to know what that means. I have stood before the health board before in protest to some of the things that they wanted to do. And so it's important to know that the person understands what the position is. The other thing that I would like to see changed is that we have more avenues to let people know that these boards have vacancies, because I don't think we do that enough. And so the person needs to know the job if they're going to be hired, even though it's volunteer.
Thank you. And we do have an audience member with a question. Please speak into the mic and read the question twice, please.
Okay, it's kind of a two-part question. So what would be your solution to improve business occupancy in downtown? And how would you mitigate homeless encampments in and around downtown to make it seem more safe and so businesses want to be in downtown?
Okay, read it one more time, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. So what would be their solution to improve business occupancies, especially in downtown Colorado Springs? And how would you mitigate the homeless encampments in and around downtown to make businesses want to be there and people want to go shop there?
Thank you for the great question. The question goes to Jax first.
Appreciate that. Thank you. I think a really important piece of this question is understanding the jurisdiction of the county commission, and just want to clarify, like, downtown is actually not a part of County Commission 5, and in your mind's eye, I would encourage you, really County Commission 5 is the heart of the city. We're the only county commission district that is actually just the city of Colorado Springs, so that's going to look a little bit different for this representative seat, but I want to recognize that there are, you know, significant concerns around how our downtown is doing and how our unhoused neighbors are also having to occupy the same space essentially because of systems that are failing them. And so in terms of improving business occupancy, I would say that there are definitely mechanisms at the county commission level and county jurisdictionally that we already have available to utilize. The county commission has a lot of say over how community development block grants, trying to get my alphabet soup right, are spent, as well as other types of revenues that come from the federal and state local levels. So we always have to be smart and on our toes about how we are using those revenues in the budget. And I also want to say that addressing the housing crisis and the spectrum of it, which includes our unhoused neighbors, is one of the key pieces of my campaign. And so that's going to take a lot of interjurisdictional work because this is a city and county issue.
And that's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you. Yes, and so that isn't in District 5, but I want to say that the Downtown Partnership Group really focuses on the downtown. And I've been here through generations. The downtown has gone through so many cycles. At one time they had, you know, the big box stores there, Lerner's, Fashion Bar, and until the Citadel Mall came about. And then they went to malls. And so the downtown has really been rebuilding in terms of businesses, and they have done pretty well. In fact, the revenue that comes from downtown, from the businesses there, it makes more money than any other part of the city or the county. So the downtown area is really well taken care of. Now, as to respect to our unhoused neighbors, you know, there have been ordinances that have been put in place, and you cannot incarcerate or criminalize the unhoused to ending homelessness. It's just not going to happen. And so what needs to happen is that we need to create those services, which will, in the end, if we do preventative measures, I always think it's important to go for teeth cleaning instead of getting a root canal, dealing and getting these services in place so that our unhoused will have a place to go and a place to seek help.
Thank you. Vicki?
You like that one, huh?
Yeah, I did. Okay, this keeps coming loose. I'm so sorry. Okay, when it comes to business, I've owned my own business before, and thank you, Wendy, for the question. One of the main things I think we always have to look at the root of the problem. If people are not opening up businesses in downtown, why? Well, I think one of the reasons is taxes. A lot of people would love to open their own business, and they just can't because taxes are so high. I've talked to business owners, and I know how much tax hurt them. And if you're paying all these taxes and you're not able to give it to people who work for you, then you're not helping the community. So I think that's the first thing we need to look at. As far as the homeless, I come from old school. Like I said, my husband and I run a nonprofit. And years ago, something happened in our country where the government kicked out the nonprofit. The nonprofits took care of the homeless. They took care of those who needed jobs and job training. They did a lot of those things, and just to add another something that the government does is not the solution. Government doesn't do stuff like that very well. I think we need to really start engaging with the nonprofits in our area and bring them back on board. to help with with the homeless situation. And I can guarantee you, they'll do a lot better than the government.
Thank you. We will move on to an indivisible question.
I don't believe I got to answer that one.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I have bad memory, but not that bad.
It is Women's History Month after all. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm so sorry, Christian. Please proceed.
No worries. So I see this question in two forms here. It's a public safety question and it's an economics question. So I'm going to answer it like that. When it comes to public safety, like I said in my introduction, no child or family should be forced to sleep on the streets. No one should not know where their next meal is going to happen. That is a crime. The fact that we've allowed that to persist in our nation is horrendous. So step one is putting forward resources to make sure we are helping get these people off the streets. It's not about prosecuting. It is not about creating new laws to make what they're doing more dangerous and even more at risk. It is about helping these people because that's what they are. They're people. And we can spend some of our public safety funding, some of that 2.4% that generates tens of millions of dollars every year from our Board of Commissioners to do two things. Open up more homeless shelters to help get them into programs that keep them off the streets. Second thing, we can invest in our mortgage and rental assistance program set up by the state that currently functions on a lottery. And we can backfill some of that funding so that it is no longer up to fate as to whether or not you get evicted in hard times. Now, when it comes to economics, I have to go very fast here. We have to support our small businesses. The loss of small businesses has been what hollowed out our middle class. It's that and the lack of resources. So we invest using grants and subsidies. Yes, I want to raise our county minimum wage. And yes, that does put an extra onus on people who don't have billions of dollars to throw at it. That is where these subsidies come in because we make
And that's time. Thank you. Okay, we have a question from Indivisible, and I will work hard to not skip you this time, Christian. What are your thoughts about protecting, maintaining, and/or perhaps growing parks and open space within the purview of the El Paso County Board of Commissioners? Again, the question is, what are your thoughts about protecting, maintaining, and/or perhaps growing parks and open space within the purview of the El Paso County Board of Commissioners? And this question goes to Yolanda first.
Sorry, they were working the mic.
Okay, I think it's working. Thank you. First of all, I'm just going to applaud the county on the Bear Creek Park. They have made it accessible, right? A blind person can use like this little pin and it'll describe the nature around that. What is around, what kind of habitats there and what kind of trees, and that's awesome. And I would like to continue that in all the parks that the county operates. I think open space is crucial to maintaining because face it, a lot of us don't want to have growth everywhere. We have to preserve our open space to make sure that the next generations are able to witness the habitat, to witness the wildlife, to do that. But one of the things that's really, it's going to be a balancing act because right now we have very dry seasons. As we get warmer and warmer, there's a lot of, there used to be a season of wildfires, now it's year round. So we have to figure out how to balance the open spaces and make sure that they stay safe and not be vulnerable to fires. But I think it's so important for us to have that liberty because that's why people come to Colorado. That's why they come to El Paso County and Colorado Springs because of those. We're outdoorsy people. We're ultra park users. So we want to make sure that we maintain those and even expand them.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christian?
Our parks are part of what make Colorado as special as it is. And currently, there are a couple of things that we're lacking. And one of the biggest ones was actually taken from us. That's basic sanitation. Currently, walking up and down the trail, even Sand Creek Trail, right by my house, what you'll notice is it could be a mile before you find a trash can. And then it's probably not a public trash can. That leads to people just discarding things on the side of the road. Odds are good if you're at one of our parks, you're struggling to find a bathroom. You can guess what that leads to desperate people doing. It's a problem. It's It's a public safety hazard. The first thing we need to talk about when it comes to our parks shouldn't be what they cost, because frankly, we need our parks in order to maintain our environment and maintain our tourism for our economy. What we need to be discussing is how we keep them clean and maintained for future generations. And that starts with some basic things, bathrooms and trash cans. We should be able to enjoy our public spaces. I should be able to walk the trail with my dogs and not have to worry that they're going to eat something horrible or a chicken bone. That's terrible. My kids, which I don't have for the record, should I one day, they should be able to play on the park without being worried about running into glass or someone sleeping up in the playground. We do that by investing in public safety and public sanitization so that we can actually use these resources that we spend our tax dollars on. We keep them available, we keep them clean, and we keep our spaces public just as they should be.
Thank you. Vicki?
Thank you for the question. One of the things that's important to understand that El Paso County grows about almost 6,000 people a year. And I tell you, we have outpaced Denver. We are larger than Denver in numbers. And maybe I'll get a chance to give those to you later. But if you have not looked at the county master plan, you need to do so. It's pretty amazing. So we have 7,396.32 acres of parks and open space. An additional 903.62 planned for extra trails. So we have a lot of trails, a lot of open space, a lot of wonderful parks here in our county. It's beautiful. How do you maintain it? That's going to require hiring people to clean up the mess, because people do break glass, people do put trash because cans are not there. Then maybe the first thing is to put cans out. But the real thing is that's going to have to be something in the budget. If you're going to maintain those and keep them clean, it's going to require putting out some dollars for people to have jobs. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And we have thousands of acres, so that's going to take a lot of money.
Thank you. Jax?
Thank you. I would suggest too, in addition to the county master plan, check out the county budget, because we touched on it. There's $532 million that was approved for 2026, right? And I will give credit where credit is due to my future, hopefully Republican colleagues, that they made parks part of the priorities. So I'm happy to see that. I support that. And when I think of all the assets we had that, you know, the candidate was mentioning, I think of the painted mines, which is something so beautiful and unique that often people don't remember, oh, that is a county facility. And so again, this is a communications piece where, you know, Sand Creek is a city trail, but we have a robust urban trail system. And so that's right next to Fountain Creek, which is a county trail. And so again, I would circle back to, this is going to be a job that I'm looking forward to, because I want to be the strongest commissioner. I'm making sure that city-county interjurisdictional connection is there, especially protect the beautiful assets that we have, like our parks. And I would simply mention too, for those who are, you know, following this issue, I think, yes, there will be tough decisions though, like Fox Run Regional Park, right, is currently paused. And so that's an issue that I would commit to tracking as a commissioner. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. And as a note, it is currently 3:02. We have about 35 minutes left. So if you have your questions that are burning, you only have about 30 minutes to get these questions in. We do have someone almost at the mic. And if you wouldn't mind speaking into the mic and also repeating the question twice while you look so fashionable.
Oh, this is my everyday look, so thank you. Hi, my name is Goddess Taisha. I use they, them pronouns. I think it's interesting that we're talking so much about parks and limited about housing, actually, considering the houseless issue that we are having, and the fact that most actually Coloradoans are one paycheck away from being houseless. So not too far-fetched, but my question is around houselessness, because I think we spend a lot of time and money and assets around beautifying our cities for others due to tourism and so on and so forth. And I'm gonna be very transparent. I don't wanna hear what the government can't do. I wanna hear what the government will do. And the reason is because the reality is that we're building a nonprofit complex around these things, which if anybody wants to look up that terminology sociologically, we are making businesses out of nonprofits, and it should not be our nonprofits, it should be us taking care of our neighbors. So I just want to put that context when I ask that question. When you say you represent everyone, I want to understand what it means in real life to our neighbors, including our youth, LGBTQ youth, working families, families trying to stay housed, seniors, and residents experiencing houselessness. Nationally, we're seeing that young people, Denver right now is looking at 45% of young people are actually houseless. They're either jumping from bed to bed, or we can't account for where they actually live. So my question is, what specific actions will you be taking as a county commissioner to make equitable, real decisions so families and young people in District 5 are not trying to survive, but they have access to safety, opportunity, and belonging in this city? And how will the community know your leadership is improving life for those who have historically been left out of decision making? I will ask the question again. Because the reality is that a lot of people that live in your county have been living here for a long time and are seeing a lot of gentrification as well. What specific actions will you take as a county commissioner to make equity real? And more importantly, liberation. So families and young people of District 5 are not trying to survive, but have access to safety, opportunity, and belonging in their own communities. And how will the community know your leadership is improving the lives of those who have historically been left out? So how can we evaluate that maybe the first year, the second year, the third year? Why should you be reelected right now? Thank you.
Thank you. We may ask you to stay up here to repeat parts of that question. But thank you. But thank you for the lovely question. The question goes to, well, before I say that, while I do appreciate a good snap, that is not silent. So if we could refrain from snaps, I would appreciate it. The question goes to Christian first.
Homelessness is a very, very real problem. And as someone who has suffered from housing instability, it's one that I take deeply to heart. So there's a couple of solutions I'm bringing forward. First and foremost, we as a board of commissioners need to learn how to work with the city councils that we govern. We have to learn to work with them. We have to work together. And we need to pass joint zoning. That way every time, Norwood's not going to like this, every time we build new communities, low income and medium income housing are built into them on purpose. They're regulated into place so that you're not priced out of the communities that you grew up and live in. Number two is the emergency aspect of this. It is way too accurate that there are thousands of people suffering on our streets every single day. It is even more accurate to say that thousands more struggle to keep their rent paid and avoid becoming the next one on the street. I've been there. It's hard. So what we do is we, like I said a moment ago, we backfill the emergency rental and mortgage relief program. There's some funding to keep it a lottery. Our fate shouldn't be a lottery. Our economic freedom shouldn't be a lottery, and neither should our house. We use some of our public safety funding to backfill that and make sure that when you're struggling, we have resources there to help. You'll be able to know it's working because when you struggle, there will be someone there to help. You'll know it's working because when you look on the streets, hopefully fewer and fewer people every year will be struggling there. And I will be here in the community, so if I fail, you can tell me to my face and tell me how you want me to succeed.
Thank you. Vicki?
Okay. Housing for the homeless. Again, I'm sorry, that's not the government's job. It really is not. It's our job. What are we doing? What are we doing? Just like you said, what are we doing to help? When's the last time you had somebody live with you that was a family member on the street?
Please don't refer to me, because I will answer that.
No, that's your question. That was your
No,
question.
but
I was
I'll let
saying
you
your
know.
question.
I'm not on the panel, so don't
And
refer
so,
questions to me.
my question is, what are we doing as a community? Because we can't rely on the government. If it was going to rely on the government, it had already been taken care of, right? Because they're taking thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars of our tax money and saying it's going to help the poor. Is it? I don't think so. So it's really up to us. And we need to go before the county commissioners and say, what can we do within our realm as citizens to help the homeless? And for you, you cannot tell a person who has bought property how they can use that property. That's infringing on their rights. I would not infringe on your rights and come and tell you how to build on your property, and you cannot do that to a developer, unfortunately. So there's got to be a solution, but we have to make that solution. I tell you, I want less and less and less and less government because they don't know how to take care of people. We know how to take care of people. So what are you doing is my question.
That's time. Thank you. Jax?
Yeah, I'd like to start with what I'm doing. So I'm super pleased to be supportive and spreading the word about the Colorado Springs Tenants Association, because I believe that's a critical example of how we can organize for housing justice and be reliant on ourselves and our neighbors. And so I want to let you know, share a little bit about the story. Maybe you haven't heard of this, but we have, I think, 4, maybe 5 now, different organizations that are unionizing in their complexes to make sure that they have a voice with the property management that they are subject to. And so I'm proud to be working on that currently, and we'll stay committed to that. And then in the space of the county commissioner, I think it's really important to call out that there are what I consider pass-through programs, which are essentially enriching landlords. These emergency rental assistance programs just are checks that go straight to the landlords. And so while they put a Band-Aid on the housing crisis the individual is experiencing, I think we have to do more than that. And we have to continue. It's something that wasn't available to me when I purchased in 2019. I want it for others, want to continue it. That is home buyer down payment assistance. We actually got that recently. We need to keep funding it. And I just want to mention here, this question is greater because it is about economic and equity. And I want to be the county commissioner who is actually paying attention to our self-sufficiency index and paying attention to the power that we do have, which is raising minimum wages
And
or
that's
engaging
time.
with rent control. Thank you.
Jax. Yolanda?
Thank you. So the housing situation, but I think you had a broader question. So while sitting on city council, we voted to have the place, and the place is a multifamily unit for persons of LGBTQ to have wraparound services there. And I just thought that that was the most appropriate way to support our unhoused youth, youth that had been kicked out of their homes because their parents found out that they were LGBTQ. And they had nowhere to go, but that they had so much to bring to the table. And so we agreed to that. That vote was not unanimous by any means, but to see more of those type of situations. Also, there's a thing called inclusionary zoning. And that means that every development that goes up, that we have a percentage set aside for people of all walks of life. We can have an engineer that works at what is now defunct Space Command, but work there, and also have the barista that works at the local coffee shop live there. And to bring that inclusionary zoning throughout the entire county would go far and wide to support the entire people, the entire population.
Thank you. That's time. Goddess Taisha, you asked a very layered and wonderful question. I do encourage all to, you and others, to get a more in-depth answer with candidates at the end when we do our candidate meet and greet.
I have another question that has nothing to do with the theme that I just, and may I please ask it?
We'll circle back around to you.
Okay, excellent.
Okay,
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay, Terry, please proceed with
Hi,
your question.
I'm Terry Weber, and I don't really have a question, I just have a word. Water. 80% of our water comes from the other side of the Continental Divide, and we're in a battle with 7 states over what happens to that water. And if anybody hasn't noticed, we are missing some snowpack. And it's not likely that it's going to improve over the next few decades. I want to know what our county commission can do to keep us from drying up and going thirsty.
Could you repeat the question?
Water.
The question water first goes to Vicki.
Well, water, we all need it to survive. So thank you, Terry, for the question. That has been one of my biggest concerns, is water. When I see all the building that's going on in our community, I'm going, okay, where's the water coming from? I sat and I listened to the water board talk about how we have 300 years of water, but one question was never asked. I'm saying, ask the question, ask the question. I'm saying to the Board of County Commissioners, just ask the question. They did not ask how that 300 years of water is going to be affected by the rate that we are building in our city, in our county. Nobody asked that question, and it has not been asked yet. Until we get a handle on that, the building that is happening, because we actually have more homes in Colorado than any other county in the state of Colorado, in El Paso County than in the state of Colorado. So we have plenty of homes. Some of them are not affordable. And I'm telling you right now, if we keep building at the rate that we are not going to have enough water for 300 years. That's how I see it. Please tell me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong on that. But as I'm seeing it right now at the rate we're building, we're not going to have enough water.
Thank you. Jax?
Yes, water is life, period. And so I think the question was, what can the county commission do to make sure that we are protecting this asset and resource that we can't live without? And so I think the first thing I need to unequivocally say is that the county commission needs to face the reality already that this question poses, which is not ignore that we are all worried about how unseasonably warm it is and that we don't have a snowpack and that we can't possibly match up how much we're building and growing with the numbers when it comes to water, which is such a, actually, probably this group is aware because I feel like you're quite active, but water law is actually quite complicated. And as the question mentioned as well, you know, water is one of these issues that there's a lot broader context that we have to operate under, especially with the Colorado River being part of our resources. So I'm really looking forward to tapping back in as a county commissioner to some of my previous experience at the congressional level and addressing water for the issue that it is, which is me carrying the weight for my constituency of District 5 and representing what our concerns are and making sure that we don't run out of water. So thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you. So I was sat on the board of utilities where one of the services are water and wastewater. So we use, there's the upper basin and then there's the lower basin. And the upper basin uses a lot less water and takes from the Colorado River than the lower basin. So we have like in Arizona, they use tons of water. And you know what they use it for? They use it to grow alfalfa to send to Japan. And so we need to keep that water. So in utilities, have you noticed that you only get to water like 3 days a week? We've been doing that to make sure that people start to get accustomed to really conserving water. As we get to natural grasses, natural plants, we've done a great job. From 1990, our population has almost doubled and we are using the same amount of water. So measures have been taken. And yes, it's getting worse, but what the county can do is that right now they have septic tanks all over in their housing development, and these are old and they're bleeding into Fountain Creek and contaminating our water supply. So it's really important that we set up to make sure that the water that we do have is not contaminated and that we can reuse it.
Thank you. Christian?
We need our water, and we need to protect our water, especially as the federal administration continues to roll back water protections. That leaves us at risk. Part of what we have to do more, though, is conserve it. As county commissioners, we are faced with the reality of dealing with the resources that the state and federal government leave with us and working with our communities to do our best with it. So first and foremost, we need to figure out how to use our water more efficiently. And part of that is working with our local communities and our HOAs. I'm sure those of you who live in an HOA have noticed a lot of the time they tell you what plants you're allowed to have in your front yard. My grandmother got told she had to have 7 bushes and trees, to be very specific, at least 7. Part of what we can do is work with them to adjust these lists, to make more eco-friendly lists that require less water. Plants from here in Colorado instead of grass from Europe, for instance. Those kind of small changes help us to continue investing in the type of efficiency that our current commissioners and our city councils have long been looking towards. Part of this is also investing in replacing a lot of our old infrastructure though. When leaks happen, we can't just patch over them. We need to invest in infrastructure that continues to make our water usage more efficient. And now here's the hard part. Here's what our commissioners will struggle with, but what we have to do every single day. We have to harass our congressmen and our local state representatives to help us, to help bring water back to the Front Range and make sure we are taken care of. Every day, sometimes that might mean you're spending weeks long calling Representative Crank or whoever wins at the end of this year and saying, I need your help.
And that's time. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to an indivisible question. With low civic participation across the region, how will you ensure residents can understand, access, and influence county decisions? Again, the question is, with low civic participation across the region, how will you ensure residents can understand, access, and influence county decisions? And this question goes to Yolanda first.
Thank you, Indivisible, for that question. So there is such a low participation rate, especially in midterms and in city council election. And the way what I've been doing it is having town halls and getting together with different neighbors and talking with them. And honestly, since I've been elected, people have been more open, and people are running that would have never run before. And so it's developing that trust, and it's so important. With the difficulty here, especially down here, is the transit nature. You know, people are here assigned from Fort Carson, and then they're reassigned in 2 years. And that's always a difficult hurdle to maneuver. But it's just continuing education and being open. I had a county commissioner tell me, I am so glad that I'm not on city council, because we don't have people coming to us in droves like you guys do, hearing all the issues that are going on. Well, I'm gonna make sure that people do come in droves to the county commissioners to voice their concerns, to actually have a voice in it, invite them, as I have in the past on city council, invite them to come down, let them know, hey, we're gonna discuss this item, and you might wanna talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian?
So I think this is a very similar answer to the way we campaign, except we need to take it bigger. We need to take it to the government level. It is the government's responsibility to talk to its residents, to tell us what is happening. That doesn't mean we ourselves have to constantly be studying what they're doing behind the scenes when they close the doors to make sure we're up to date. It means our elected representatives are supposed to be just that, ours. They're supposed to come back to the community. They're supposed to tell us why they did what they do and what they're doing, to advocate not just for what we want them to, but then to come back and to tell us the results. Part of that is being in the community. It's showing up to events like this, and I greatly appreciate all of the other candidates on the board for doing just that, because our current commissioner isn't. We need a commissioner who's invested in our community and wants us to be able to work together. That means sometimes reaching out to our HOAs. It means our city councils, and it means working together to figure out how we can reach you. A lot of the time, that's gonna mean I'm knocking on your door, and for those of you who don't want that, I do apologize. But I want you to know what's happening. We need our residents investing in the government, or else it becomes something that we don't want. Someone else's government. And we need to keep it exactly what it should be, and that is ours. We do that by investing in our residents, and we make sure our residents know it's happening, so that when it stops happening, they know who they can blame. And then they come to us to make sure that we're taken care of. We have to be in the community, and we need our community to be there with us.
And that's time. Thank you. Vicki?
Thank you for the question. One of the things I think is really important is getting the word out, and we're bad at that on the Board of County Commissioners. I know as a candidate, you spend a lot of money getting lists and different things like that, like emails, so you can communicate with the people in your area. And I think that's something that the Board of County Commissioners need to do. We have got to get a handle on getting information out to the people. And it's just not happening with our current Board of Commissioners. One of the things that I have suggested for 8 years now is that we have more meetings, except not at the Board of County Commissioners' offices, that we actually go out into the community, that we go to other locations and we have these meetings so that the people can know what is going on. What is so hard about that? I mean, we're here at a meeting place right here. Why can't we have a Board of County Commissioners meeting right here in this spot? Why can't we invite people to come? The problem is you have to have an incentive for people to come. Hey, let's have a barbecue. Let's have some hot dogs. Whatever it takes to get the people involved, we need to do that as the Board of County Commissioners. Have an evening meeting. If you're gonna have it at the Board of County Commissioners, have it in the evening so that people can actually, people work. Have it at a time where they can come in.
Thank you. Jax?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I want to invite folks actually to engage in some of the current content from the county. Would you raise your hand if you've heard of the Beyond the Dais podcast? Okay, well, there's a few in the back. Great. Well, that's a really important communication tool that the county has been working on. And I also want to invite folks, there's a Citizens Academy that happens in the fall. I have taken that. That was a very insightful course over time that the county employees take a great energy and time commitment to produce for us, the constituents. And so much, similarly, I think IRL or in real life engagement is really where it's at. And also, I really want to use my position as a millennial leader to continue to leverage technology and how we can engage people and how they can feel empowered that their influence is touching their local government, and that sustained engagement is going to be critical. And I think that's probably one of our greatest areas of improvement. There's a lot of noise out there right now, so it is tough for local governments to cut through that, and there does need to be kind of a reciprocity and relationship that exists. So that's some of what I would offer. Thank you.
Thank you. And we do have a question from the audience. Please speak into the mic, state your name, and repeat the question.
My name's Bob Abeta. I'm semi-retired. I've owned my own business for 34 years. I've observed politics all my lifetime, and being that you're candidates, you're all politicians. I would like to, this question is welcomed. There is a great divide from the national to the state to the local level and partisanship. And I want to know what if you agree with that or not, and if you do, what do you attribute that to?
Ask the question one more time, please.
I've observed politicians all of my life, and I've seen this as the greatest divide, national level to the state level to the local level. And I want to see if you agree with that, and if you do, or if you don't, what do you attribute that divide to?
Thank you so much for the question. This goes to Christian first.
Unfortunately, yes, I do agree with you. There has been more division during the last few years, probably the last 10, than I can remember at any other point in my lifetime. And it's a tragedy. Unfortunately, what a lot of that is attributed to are the types of people who we have allowed to lead us. It's people who have gone up on the dais or gotten in front of stages and they've made threats. They've openly attacked their opponents, not their policies, but their persona. They've whipped up crowds of people in anger. They've channeled this rage that people justly feel as things get more expensive and life gets harder and harder. But instead of pointing it towards a solution, it's been pointed at each other. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, that meant reaching into divisions that have long haunted this nation. Things like race and religion that they can continue to throw gas on the fire with. I can tell you that when a politician gets up on stage, and they tell you, God damns that person, they are taking God's name in vain. When they use the dais as a weapon and not as a tool for policy, they divide us further. They turn American on American in order to get themselves ahead. They blind us with rage in order to make sure we are so busy fighting each other and looking at things like skin, religion, or what side of the street you on, that we forget to pay attention to what they're doing in our government.
Thank you. Vicki?
Yes, I do believe there is a divide. Where'd he go? Yes, I do believe there's a divide. I believe there's a divide in Democrats. I believe there's a divide in Republicans. I believe there's a divide in people just liking white rice over brown rice. I mean, there is a divide. I think a lot of the divide could be healed immediately. And I knew you were like, right, lady. And I'm going to go back to what I've been saying at the very beginning. If we let the Constitution govern us, the divide can stop. Period. I mean, how many of you read the Constitution? Read it again. Please read it again. It is amazing how if our government, our elected people who are in positions of authority, who are supposed to be representing us, if they would look at that Constitution and govern and represent us based on that document, you'd be amazed at how many things could change, and change really, really quickly. Because I don't have to take your opinion. I don't have to know how you feel about it. If we're all looking at the same document and questioning if our government is operating that way, the divide will stop.
Thank you. Jax?
Yeah, I find it really important to say that actually I'm striving to be a public servant, not a politician. I realize that in this job I do have to engage politically, and that is experience that I have. But what is my North Star, what is my guiding light, is being a principled public servant. Because I think what is leading to the divide actually is money in politics. And what is really sinister about that is that it's a divide that is actually based on wealth. And so, you know, I have to say that I'm the only candidate in this race, in this primary, that is small donor, grassroots led when it comes to our fundraising. And that's because I think that when it comes to campaign fundraising, the money talks, right? And so I'm not trying to be influenced by large donors, for example. I think, you know, with money in politics, we are losing sight. This DNR thing, it's actually a distraction sometimes, because it is about moneyed interest preserving their wealth. And so, well, yes, I did choose to run with the Democratic Party. That's because I spent the time in my community trying to build the party from within, and now I'm asking to step into another leadership role. So if there's one thing I ask people to remember about why I'm running in this campaign, is that I'm here for public service, not politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you. Yes, Bob, there is a divide, but it's not new. There's been a divide since the Civil War. And what brought about the Civil War? It was a divide on who could have slaves and who could not have slaves. That was huge. And we had a president that was assassinated, Lincoln. Then we had a divide with our people that lived here. And there was actually a genocide committed on the native people. I mean, so the divide has happened. And then during, there have been massive deportations. It's a cycle. My dad was, as an American citizen, born and raised in Garden City, Kansas, again, born and raised in Garden City, Kansas, was deported. And then he was called to serve, called back to serve here in the United States, where he served in the Army, Korean War, World War II. So yes, there's a divide, and there was a divide with the Japanese Americans, where we put them in incarceration camps. We have gone through this, but like Churchill says, the Americans will do the right thing. It might be the last thing they do, but they'll do the right thing.
Thank you. We have 2 remaining audience questions, and then we will move to closing remarks from our candidates. Goddess Taisha.
Thank you so much for the time again. I will let you know that county commissioners actually cut funding for houselessness $1 million last year, and also cut the place 2 years ago, because you know how dare them give contraceptions to adults so that they don't have impregnament. Moving on along, my question is actually around the judicial system, and I would like to context that around the fact that the county commissioner delegates how the sheriff gets funding, right? And we know that our sheriff has very interesting things to say for people that are in jail, like they're not people. So I would love to know the accountability level that you as commissioner will have around funding, transparency, and most importantly around since we were talking about the Constitution, more importantly around the jurisdiction, thank you.
Jurisdiction.
You know that word. English is not my first language because I speak 4, so we gooch. What I'm actually asking is, like, how will you make sure that people of color and poor people are not hurt and harmed by our sheriff, who also, not saying nothing statistically, is actually imprisoning more people of color and also people that have addiction issues. So my question is, how will you make sure that there's transparency, that funding is not being hurting and harming our communities? And what is your intake on the sheriff's office?
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. That question will go to Vicky first.
Okay, so the Board of County Commissioners approves the sheriff's budget. They
Correct.
present the budget, and then they have to approve it. They look at that budget, see if it's within the realm of what they are given, and then they have to approve that budget. When it comes to transparency, we can only hope that the sheriff's office would be transparent.
You're funding them, you can.
It's not necessarily what you think it is. So we have to, the Board of County Commissioner has to approve the budget. When it comes to incarceration, I'm not even sure how you would say more people of color are being arrested here when the population of black people, because I think you're talking about black people, is less here than anywhere in the state of Colorado. Okay, so I don't know what those numbers are. If you have the numbers, please share those with me later, but I don't have the numbers on black people being incarcerated, white people being incarcerated, Hispanic people being incarcerated, and what those numbers are. So all we can do is talk and find out what those things are and go from there. But to sit here and say it's an automatic, I don't agree with that. I like to look at things and really see what is happening. So that would be something that the county commissioners would have to do, but I would have to see those numbers to agree with that.
Thank you. That's time. Jax?
This is such an important question because not only does the legal system intersect with the county commission when it comes to the sheriff's office, community safety is one of my pillars, and so when I talk about this, I mention the sheriff's office and the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office. So be aware that accountability is the watchword. That is why I am running. This relates directly to community safety, and that I want to be the county commissioner that is facing the realities. To my understanding, at one time, the El Paso County Jail was the most deadly jail in the state of Colorado. That is unacceptable. And so, yes, Sheriff Roybal is a different political party than I, so I won't expand the point further. I look forward to engaging with him for the betterment of this community. Though we are in different political parties, we are united, I would hope, in protecting the public safety, the dignity of all human beings. And so, just putting a finer point on it, the budget for the sheriff and the 4th Judicial, right, is going before the county commission. So that is what I commit to as your next District 5 county commissioner, accountability for those legal system intersections that we cannot deny as the county commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Yes, we can look at the budget, but we have to keep in mind, and we may, as a county commission, allot X amount of dollars. But the sheriff is an elected official. That person is elected official. They ultimately have purview over the budget and how it's used. But they have a way of seeing things that are different, that do not support people of color. And I think when we're talking about disproportionately, we're talking disproportionately in terms of our numbers. So I'm guessing that the Latino population is about 20% of the county's population. And of the black population, I think it's probably 10% or 8% of the county's population. So we're talking about disproportion of that 20%. There's a disproportionate amount of Latinos, black people, indigenous people, and of course people in poor people that are lower incomes, because they're easier to target. I mean, that they're just easier to target. And I worked as a criminal defense investigator for 21 years. And there were times that we had a college student, he was black, and it was driving while black in his bicycle, and it turned out he spent like a month in jail when it was his bicycle.
And
I saw so much.
I do apologize, that is time. Christian?
Look, I was taught something very cleanly and very plainly. Injustice against one is injustice against all. Whether you are black, white, Latino, Korean, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. And what our sheriff is doing right now is unjust. It's monstrous. I am supporting the Democrat running against Sheriff Roybal for this exact reason. Because frankly, we need a sheriff that is rooted in our communities. We need someone who knows what it's like when these police start monitoring us like every resident is another criminal. I don't want a sheriff in office who is going to use their jails as a form of wannabe torture against people they do not like. That's horrible. It is awful. So if we can use our budget to help rein that behavior back, you bet I will be there to do it. But there is something more here. As a community, we need to be prepared to take action when these crimes happen. If our sheriff violates the Constitution and we know he has done it, as a community, we have to say something. Our Board of Commissioners have to say something. Our city councils have to say something. Whether you're stealing money from the public purse or you are enacting violence against us, inappropriate behavior and corruption are wrong. I don't care if you're elected. I don't care if you're my sheriff. I don't care if you're my president. It is immoral, it is wrong, and anyone that violates our Constitution in that way should be punished and held accountable. Period.
Thank you. To the audience, to the candidates, and especially to Renee, I do apologize. The next question will have to be a 60-second response. A 60-second response, because this is the last question before closing comments, and to respect everyone's time with a hard stop at 4, we do need to have a 60-second question. So no pressure, Renee.
Oh, no pressure.
Hi everyone, my name is Renee Gonzalez, and I am a community member in District 4. Hi Ken. And my question to you is going to be very simple, because I'm going to take the lead from my other community member. The budget. We have all brought up different issues with different departments that county commissioners have control over. But what I haven't heard is, what will you do as our county commissioner to make sure that we are making mindful decisions and mindful spending with our budget? Thank you.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. How are you as the county commissioner going to be mindful in our budget and how it is spent?
Thank you, Renee. The question goes to Jax first. Remember, you have 60 seconds.
Thank you. I'm going to do my homework. When it comes to the budget process, what I think is so important is each department makes its recommendations before the county commission. And it's a long process in which the other piece of what I'm going to do is make sure to be mindful that we're having dialogue with the constituency about the budget, because it can't be created in a vacuum. So my commitment to what I'm going to do is, of course, work with our county employees who have the insight and the details and make recommendations and work with our constituents as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Former Councilmember Avila.
I'm going to go back to Woody's question, and that's we will be at least one, the three of us here will be 1/5 of the commission. And so I'm just going to highlight when I feel like there's a budget that's not equitable and inclusive and that's supporting the entire community. So I will be looking at that. For instance, a budget to have the incarceration camps and then freezing childcare, which is an economic driver because it allows our parents to go to work. So I'm going to look at budgets I will bring that out for budgets that support our residents, our community. That's what I'll be focusing on. And I will use that bully pulpit because I will only be 20% of that county commission. So it's important for me, I will be using the bully pulpit and shedding light on what's going on behind closed doors.
Thank you. Christian?
Making decisions about how our budget is spent is one of, if not the most important thing that our Board of Commissioners does. We are given money from the array of other governments in order to spend on our behalf as residents. And so the first thing I did when I decided to run for this position was a deep dive into the county commissioner's budget, because that's how you make change. And the way I will govern mindfully with this budget is by putting first our priorities. Here are the problems that we are facing as a community. Those should be how we handle our money. We need to take it one step at a time, focusing on what is hurting us and what we need first and foremost. We then move to what matters less and less as we continue spending that funding. That way, the things that we are choosing to sacrifice, because our resources are limited, are the things that will make the least amount of difference in everyday people's lives. What we need to do is prioritize our money. Prioritize it in a way that focuses on all of our residents' issues, that keeps us homed, that keeps us in jobs, that keeps our roads built and our schools functioning. It's about prioritizing and making sure it's right.
Thank you. Vicki?
Like I said earlier, our budget is only 305 pages. So please make sure you go and look at it. I think it's really important that as a county commissioner or any person who is in elected office, that you have to look at the materials that you're supposed to be voting on. So that is something that I have been doing. Like Chris, I have been looking at our budget. And I can tell you, all of you sitting in here have a budget. And you know what you can cut and what you cannot cut. You know that you can not go to Starbucks and get that cup of coffee. That'll save you some money. I think that's the same thing that we need to do with our budget. And I know I bring things really practical. We have to look at the budget, each one from the sheriff's office to the clerk and recorder's office to all the other offices that we have to approve budgets for, see what can be cut and cut.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys all made it through all the audience questions. Well done. Okay, we will move on to 90 seconds of closing remarks. We are going in reverse alphabetical order this time. So your closing remarks, you have 90 seconds, goes first to Vicki. Sorry, I was trying to stall just a little bit as you were getting your binder together.
I mean, there's so much I can say, and I'll be out here if you guys have questions for me. But there's a lot of things said today that I think you saw that I have a very different view on. I'm a constitutional person, and I'm going to bring that to the office every single day. If it's violating your constitutional rights, I'm going to say no. And I can tell you right now, some of the things I'm seeing with our builders, there's going to be a whole lot of no's from me. As your county commissioner, I am here to serve you. If a person is in a political office and it's not about service, why are you running? Because your whole job is to serve the people that are before you. And I heard some people talk about equity. Equity is not possible. Equality, absolutely. Equity is saying we can come out with the same solution, the same outcome with every person. That's not possible. We're all different. But equality, absolutely, everybody should be served the same. One of the things I want to bring to the county commissioners is common sense. I mean, just seriously, common sense. We have got to think about what we are doing and how it is based in the Constitution. We have got to look at every single decision that we make. How is this affecting the people? How is this affecting their rights as an American citizen in our county. And that's what I will bring every single day. I read the Constitution, and I'm telling you, we're not following it, and it's time to do that. Thank you. Vicki Tompkins, Vicki@VickiTompkins.com.
Thank you. Christian?
For 56 years, a handful of individuals from one party have gotten to unilaterally decide who will represent us. They've made every decision about the budget, about public safety, and about how our government will affect our lives. My name is Christian Seal, and I am your candidate for our 5th Commissioner District. And for the first time in 56 years, we have a chance to put a real representative on the board. We have a chance to put someone from a working background who has faced the struggles that plague our community and is ready to bring forward real solutions to help fight them. It is time that our Board of Commissioners stop choosing who comes next and start listening to our residents. That is why I'm running to be your next commissioner, because I believe that this is our government, not theirs, and it's time that we take it back. And we're gonna do that one seat at a time. If you wanna learn more about my platform, which is vastly extensive, go to christianforcolorado.com. Those are the solutions that I'm bringing to our Board of Commissioners so that I can help make each and every one of our lives better. Because our residents deserve a brighter future in El Paso County for all of us, not just some of us.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Access, access, access to all of us. So I've had the experience of 8 years on working on city council, working with budgets, working with all the things that the county commissioners are able to work with the added benefit of being able to support the El Paso County Board of Health and making sure that they have the funding to support the entire public. Also to be on the boards such as the library to make sure that we have people that represent everyone. I've been able to show my success in bringing to the district with the infrastructure, with the parks, with the Family Success Center, $2.7 billion into this district. And so I will continue to make sure that we have those investments here in the county in District 5 to make sure that we bring that to make our people able to have a quality of life that we should have in this beautiful city and county of ours. Thank you all, and I am Yolanda Avila. You can find me at yolandalavila.com, and I'm asking for your vote and your support and volunteering and everything that comes with it. Thank you all for being here. You've been great.
Thank you. Jax?
Yes, I also want to thank everyone, especially the folks who did all the logistics to share this time and space together. It's about community gathering. So we did that today. Yay! And I want to share that, we're up here talking about our records, which I think is important. And so my record includes one of delivering victory for civil rights and democracy in our community, being represented by the ACLU of Colorado. As we work together, we just had a victory in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Judicial District. And so I want to bring that same commitment that I have to justice to the county commission. And yes, I do stand for equity, which is the quality of being fair and just, especially in a way that accounts and seeks to addressing inequalities. And so I also stand for smart growth, where we are not kowtowing to developers, builders. I believe that we should be protecting community safety and championing public health. And so again, I super appreciate your time in considering me to be your next county commissioner as the first under 40 woman of color ever elected to the commission, and breaking almost 60 years of one party rule that in itself is just not democracy. So I invite you to come be with us during caucus and assembly. We're gonna need you. My website is jax4elpasocounty.com. So thank you all, and give yourselves a round of applause. We're probably gonna do that. Oh. ASL applause. I like applause.
Thank you, Jax. Can you please give a loud round of applause for all of our candidates today? We'd like to thank the candidates for being here. We'd like to especially thank the audience members for being here, and a huge thank you to Indivisible and Community Anchor, Loving the Spring. So many volunteers made this event happen. I believe Community Anchor is going to let us stay here until about 4:15 or so. Is that right, Sean? Yeah, that's fine. Okay. As we can see, we have very different candidates, so it's really important that you get to know folks and understand who you would like to support in this race. So thank you for attending. Please go out and mix and mingle with all of the lovely candidates. Thank you for being here, and have a blessed Sunday.